Hey, so I'm Caleb, 16, just a regular high school sophomore trying to survive algebra and teenage drama. My life's been a bit of a mess lately, and it all ties back to my mom marrying my stepdad, Mark, 2 years ago. Mom's 39, Mark's 41, and I'm the product of a college fling between her and my dad that crashed and burned fast. They never tied the knot. Mom got pregnant with me after a few months of dating, and instead of calling it quits, she decided to keep me. Dad didn't bail either. He wanted to stick around, so they've split custody ever since I was a kid. I bounce between their houses in Austin, Texas every month, half the year with Mom, half with Dad. It's not a bad deal, honestly. I love them both, and they've bent over backwards to make it work. They've stayed in Austin all these years, so I don't have to deal with some crazy cross-state commute. Dad's a mechanic who could have chased better gigs in Houston, and Mom's a nurse who turned down promotions in Dallas, all to keep us close. Growing up, I didn't get how big those sacrifices were. Mom even ditched a couple of serious boyfriends because she didn't want a new guy messing with our little setup. I only found out about all this later, thanks to Mark stirring the pot. See, Mark's not exactly stepdad of the year. Mom's been on this guilt trip campaign, telling me how much she gave up for me, so I should cut Mark some slack. She thinks if she sacrificed her love life and career, I can suck it up and deal with him. I don't buy that logic. I didn't ask her to do any of it. She could have handed me off to Dad full-time or whatever, but she chose this. Still, I love her, and I want her happy, so I tried to roll with it. Problem is, Mark's a jerk. Not in a loud, mean way, but in this weird, quiet, you don't exist way. He's got this thing where he acts like I'm invisible. I'm not kidding. He doesn't talk to me, look at me, nothing. It's been like this for 3 years now, ever since he started dating Mom. At first, I thought I'd done something to tick him off, but I've always been polite, raised to be nice even when people are cold. He's not rude outright. He just pretends I'm not there. Like, I'll walk into the kitchen and he'll turn his back or leave the room. It's freaky. I'm 16, he's 41. What kind of grown man has beef with a kid? I've racked my brain for a reason, but I've got nothing. Mom says, "Oh, that's just how he is. He doesn't hate you, he just doesn't connect." Yeah, right. If you don't like someone, there's gotta be a why, especially when they're half your age. Back when he first showed up at our house in South Austin, he was okay. Asked me about school, my basketball team, dumb stuff like that. I'd answer, keep it chill, thinking we'd get along. Then one day, boom. He flipped a switch. No more talking, no more eye contact, just silence. I asked Mom if I'd messed up, and she brushed it off with, "He's adjusting to having you around." He's not used to dating someone with a kid. That's garbage. Mark's got 2 daughters, Lily, 14, and Ava, 11, from his first marriage. Their mom died in a car wreck years ago, so he's no stranger to kids. Plus, I'm only at Mom's half the time. Every other month I'm at Dad's place in East Austin. So what's his deal? A year into dating Mom, Mark proposed. They got hitched a few months later, and he moved into our house with Lily and Ava. Before that, I'd barely met his girls, just a couple awkward hellos. Guess what? They ignore me too. It's like Mark trained them to treat me like a ghost. He used to live with his sick mom in a condo across town, but after the wedding, he shipped her off to his brother's place in San Marcos so he could crash with us. Suddenly, I'm stuck in a house where 3 out of 4 people act like I'm not even there. It's brutal, like I'm some intruder in my own home. I've dealt with it for years now, but it's never stopped sucking. So, living with Mark and his mini-me daughters wasn't exactly a picnic. For 2 years after he moved into our South Austin house, it was the same deal every month I stayed with Mom. I'd walk in, say hi to her, and get the silent treatment from everyone else. Mark wouldn't even grunt in my direction. He'd just sip his coffee and stare at his phone like I was a stray cat wandering through. Lily and Ava were the same, 14 and 11, old enough to know better. But they'd giggle with each other and act like I was invisible. Mom was the only one who'd talk to me, and even then, it felt like I was crashing some exclusive club. I tried to get used to it. I'd tell myself, whatever, I'm only here half the time. I've got Dad's place to escape to. but it still stung. I'd be chilling in the living room, and Mark would walk in, glance at the TV, then leave without a word. If I asked Lily or Ava something simple, like, "Hey, where's the remote?" they'd pretend they didn't hear me and bounce. It was like living with ghosts who only haunted me. I felt like I'd done something awful, but I had no clue what. I'm not a jerk. I don't pick fights, I don't trash the house. I even helped Mom with dishes sometimes. So why the cold shoulder? I asked Mom about it a million times. Did I piss Mark off? Is it me? She'd sigh and say, "No, Caleb. He's just complicated. He's got his reasons, but it's not your fault." Reasons? What reasons? She'd never spill, just hit me with, "I've talked to him, okay? He's not mad. He just needs time." Time for what? He'd been ignoring me for 3 years. How much longer did he need? Once, she let slip that Mark wasn't used to sharing a family, whatever that meant, since his girls were his whole world after their mom died. Cool, but I wasn't trying to steal anyone. I just wanted to exist without feeling like a leper. I pushed her to confront him, figure out why he and his kids treated me like air. She'd get all teary and say, "Caleb, you don't get it. I gave up so much for you. Good jobs, relationships, everything. Can't you deal with Mark for me?" That guilt trip shut me up every time. She'd ramble about how she stayed single for years, picking me over some perfect guy in Dallas. Also, I'd have a stable life. I didn't ask for that. I'd have been fine with Dad full-time. But I couldn't argue without hurting her. So I dropped it. I never told Dad either. He's chill, but he's got a temper when it comes to Mom. If he knew Mark was icing me out, he'd flip, and I didn't want a custody war. So I sucked it up, month after month. Fast forward to last month. Summer break, no school, just me, my PS5, and a stack of frozen pizzas. I was at Mom's for July like usual, and things were already rough. I'd had a blowout with my best buds, Jake and Tyler, over some dumb group chat argument, and I was in a total funk. Mark and his girls were their usual selves, ignoring me, laughing at inside jokes with Mom like I wasn't there. Then, 2 weeks ago, I woke up to a ghost town. No noise, no voices, nothing. I stumbled downstairs, half asleep, expecting to see Mom making coffee or Mark reading the paper. Nope. Kitchen's empty, living room's dead, no shoes by the door. Even the dog's food bowl was untouched, which is weird because Ava usually feeds him. I freaked. Grabbed my phone and called Mom. She picked up after 3 rings, sounding all cheerful. "Hey, Caleb, what's up?" I'm like, "Where are you guys?" "The house is empty." She goes, "Oh, didn't I mention?" Mark, the girls, and I are on a little getaway to San Antonio for the week. Just stay there and keep an eye on things, okay? My jaw dropped. A getaway? San Antonio? Without telling me? I'm 16, not a house sitter. I snapped. "No, you didn't mention it. Why didn't you say anything?" She laughed, like actually laughed, and said, "Oops, must have slipped my mind. We left early. You'll be fine, right?" I was livid. "Fine? You ditched me without a heads up and expect me to play guard dog? That's messed up." She got quiet, then said, "Caleb, don't make this a thing. It's just a week. We'll be back soon." I told her it wasn't about staying home. It was about them sneaking off like I didn't matter. They could have at least asked if I was cool with it. I'd probably have said yes. I mean, an empty house sounds dope when you're 16. But the way they did it felt like a slap in the face, especially with Mark involved. I yelled, "Eddie doesn't have to talk to me, but you could have warned me." She cut me off. "You're overreacting. I'll call you later from the hotel," and hung up. I tried calling back, straight to voicemail. She texted, "Trying to enjoy the trip. Talk soon." That was it. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling like trash. My own mom didn't care enough to tell me she was bailing with her real family. I was already down from the friend drama, and now this? No way was I sticking around. So there I was, standing in Mom's empty South Austin house, phone in hand, fuming after she hung up on me. I wasn't about to sit there like some abandoned puppy, watching their place while they partied in San Antonio without even telling me. I tried calling her again, voicemail every time. I even shot her a text. "I'm not staying here alone. You should have told me." No reply. She was probably sipping a margarita by the Riverwalk, not giving a crap. That's when I said, "Screw this." I was done. I grabbed my backpack, stuffed it with clothes, my Switch and a charger, then locked up the house. Mom always hides a spare key under this ugly cactus planter by the porch, so I left it there like she does. I didn't care if the place sat empty. I wasn't her unpaid security guard. I hopped on my bike and rode the couple miles to Dad's place in East Austin. It was mid-morning, sun blasting, and I was sweaty and pissed by the time I got there. Dad was in the garage, tinkering with some old Chevy when I rolled up. He looked up, greasy rag in hand, and went, "Caleb? What are you doing here? You're not due back till next week." I dropped my bike against the wall and just let it all out. Mom, Mark, and his kids took off to San Antonio and didn't even tell me. Left me at the house like I'm supposed to babysit it or something. Dad's face went from confused to ticked real fast. "They what?" he said, wiping his hands. I kept going, couldn't stop. I told him how Mark's been ignoring me for 3 years, how Lily and Ava act like I'm a ghost, how Mom just lets it slide. She says he's got reasons, but won't tell me what. I've been dealing with this crap forever just to keep her happy, and now this? I'm sick of it, Dad. I didn't mean to unload everything, but it spilled out. How I'd kept quiet to avoid drama. How Mom guilt-tripped me with her sacrifices whenever I complained. She didn't even care I was upset, just hung up and told me to get over it. By the end, my voice cracked, and I was bawling like a kid. I hadn't realized how much it had been eating me up, feeling like I didn't matter to her anymore, like Mark's family was her priority now. Dad didn't say much at first, just pulled me into a hug and let me cry it out. He's not big on words, but that was enough. When I calmed down, he stepped back and said, "Listen, Caleb. I'm glad you told me. This isn't okay, and I'm going to handle it. You're staying here now. Go back to your mom's if you want, but I wouldn't." His voice was calm, but I could tell he was furious. I nodded, wiped my face, and hauled my stuff upstairs to my room. It felt weirdly good, like I'd finally dropped a weight I'd been lugging around for years. I crashed on my bed, figuring I'd deal with whatever came next later. For 5 days, it was radio silence. I didn't call Mom, and she didn't call me. I thought maybe she'd at least check in, you know? "Hey, Caleb, you good?" Nope. Nothing. Guess I wasn't worth a text while she was living it up with Mark and the girls. It hurt, but I was too mad to care much. Dad didn't bring it up either. He just kept things normal, like cooking burgers or watching dumb action movies with me. I started feeling better, thinking maybe I'd just stay with him for good. Then, on day 6, my phone lit up. Mom. I figured she'd finally realized she'd ditched me and wanted to apologize. Wrong. I answered, and she was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Caleb, what the hell were you thinking?" It took me a sec to catch up. She was freaking out because their house got robbed while they were gone. TV, some jewelry, Mark's fancy golf clubs, all gone. And she was blaming me. "You left the house empty. How could you do this to us?" she yelled. I was stunned. "Are you serious? I tried to call you like a dozen times to say I was leaving. You ignored me." She shot back. "You could have texted. This is on you." I told her I was too pissed to think straight. She ditched me first. No warning, no nothing. "You made it clear you didn't care, so I went to Dad's. I locked up. How's this my fault?" She wouldn't hear it, kept ranting about how I should have stayed no matter what, that she trusted me to watch the place. Trusted me? She didn't even trust me enough to tell me they were leaving. Then I heard Mark in the background, yelling too, the first time he's ever spoken to me in years. "You're careless, Caleb. I knew you'd screw us over." Screw them over? I don't even talk to the guy. We argued back and forth, Mom saying I let her down, me saying she let me down first. I finally hung up, hands shaking. Dad overheard the whole thing from the kitchen and came in, looking ready to explode. "She's blaming you for this? After leaving you high and dry?" I just nodded. He muttered something about typical and stormed off to make a call. I had a bad feeling things were about to get messy. After that screaming match with Mom, things went from bad to worse. I was still reeling from her blaming me for the robbery, like I'm some mastermind who planned it just to spite her. Dad was pacing the house, muttering about how Mom had lost it, and I could tell he was cooking up something big. I stayed at his place in East Austin, trying to keep my head down, playing video games, texting Jake and Tyler to patch things up. But the whole mess with Mom and Mark kept gnawing at me. How did this even become my fault? A couple days later, Dad sat me down at the kitchen table, face all serious. "Caleb, we need to talk." I braced myself. He's not the let's chat type unless it's heavy. He said, "I called your mom. She's still on this kick that you're to blame and Mark's pushing her to cut you off completely. I'm done with it. I'm filing for full custody." My stomach dropped. Full custody? That's next level. I asked, "What did she say?" He shook his head. "She's freaking out, saying she can't lose you. But I told her she doesn't get to treat you like this and expect you to stick around. Something's off, and I'm getting to the bottom of it." I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to stay with Dad forever. Life was chill here, no silent treatment BS. But Mom going off the deep end still hurt. I'd kept quiet about Mark for years to keep her happy, and now she was acting like I'd betrayed her. Then, out of nowhere, my phone pinged, an email from Mark. First time he's ever reached out, and the subject line just said, "Sorry." I opened it, half expecting more yelling, but it was an apology. A long one. He wrote, "Caleb, I owe you an explanation. I've been awful to you and I'm sorry. I didn't know the truth until now." Truth? What truth? He explained that back when he and Mom started dating, maybe 3 months in, he'd asked her if he could move his dying mom into her house in South Austin. His mom had cancer, and he didn't want her alone in that condo across town. He'd lined up a nurse, promised it wouldn't be a burden, but Mom said no. Mark said he'd have been cool with that. She could have just told him she wasn't ready for that step. Instead, she lied. She told him I was the problem. According to Mark's email, Mom spun this story that I was some psycho kid who'd chased off every guy she'd ever dated. She said I'd flip out if he moved in with his mom and girls, claimed I'd called his dying mom a drain on the family, and his daughters spoiled brats who'd wreck everything. She even told him I was obsessed with getting her and Dad back together, so I'd sabotage anyone new. Mark bought it hook, line, and sinker. He wrote, "She made you sound like a monster, Caleb. I didn't want you near my kids or my mom after that. I stopped talking to you because I thought you'd hurt them." I sat there staring at my phone, feeling sick. Me? A monster? I'd never said any of that. I'd never even thought it. I'm not some cartoon villain twirling a mustache, plotting to ruin Mom's life. I was nice to Mark from day one, but Mom fed him this garbage, and he lapped it up without even asking me. He said in the email that he'd pushed Mom to ditch me after the robbery, thinking it proved she was right about me being trouble. She finally cracked and told him the truth, that she'd lied to dodge moving in with his mom, not because of me. Mark was done. He'd moved out to his brother's place in San Marcos, and they were splitting up. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Mom trashed me to save face, let Mark and his kids treat me like dirt for 3 years, and never said a word. She'd watched me twist myself into knots, wondering what I'd done wrong, all while knowing it was her lie. Mark ended the email saying, "I should have questioned it. You were always decent to me. I hope you can forgive me someday." I didn't reply. I was too mad, too confused, too everything. Dad saw me staring at my phone and asked what was up. I handed it to him. He read it, face darkening with every line, then slammed it down. "She did what? Blamed you for her crap? That's it. She's not seeing you again unless you want it." He was already on the phone with his lawyer, pushing the custody thing harder. I just sat there, numb. Mom had always played the "I sacrificed everything for you" card, but this was twisted. She'd sacrificed me to keep Mark happy, and it backfired spectacularly. So, after Mark's email dropped that bombshell about Mom's lies, everything went nuts. I was still processing how she'd painted me as some psycho kid to dodge his dying mom moving in, letting me take the heat for 3 years. Dad was on a warpath. Full custody was in motion, and he wasn't backing down. I didn't know what to feel. Mad, hurt, betrayed, all of it mashed together. Here's how it's played out since. Update 1. Mark's out. Mom's panicking. A week after the email, Dad got a call from his lawyer. Mark wasn't just mad, he was done. He'd filed for divorce. Turns out finding out Mom lied about me was the last straw for him. He'd moved to his brother's place in San Marcos with Lily and Ava, and he wasn't looking back. Mom freaked. She started texting Dad nonstop, begging him to talk to Mark and fix it. She even sent me a message. "Caleb, I messed up. I love you, I love Mark. We can still be a family." A family? After she let me think I was the problem for years? I didn't reply. Dad told her to back off, that this was on her, and she'd have to deal with the fallout. I blocked her number after that. I'd put up with so much, Mark's silent treatment, the secret trip, her guilt trips, just to keep her happy. And she'd been fine watching me suffer as long as it kept her life smooth with Mark. I was over it. Dad said, "You don't owe her anything, Caleb." She made her choices. He was right. I wasn't going to keep bending over backwards for someone who'd throw me under the bus. Update 2. Custody fight and divorce drama. The next few weeks were a mess. Mom didn't take the divorce or custody thing lying down. She hired a lawyer and tried to drag it out. She kept calling Dad, crying about how she couldn't lose me, but it felt fake after everything. Dad's lawyer had Mark's email, my side of the story about the trip and the robbery, and years of texts where I'd begged Mom to fix things with Mark. It painted a clear picture. She'd neglected me to play happy family with him, and now it was biting her. Meanwhile, word spread fast. My cousins in Round Rock started sending me screenshots of Mom's Instagram. Sad quotes like, "Family is everything," and "Trust breaks, hearts ache." Seriously? She was out here playing victim online while Mark was done, and Dad was ready to fight her in court. It was pathetic. I didn't feel bad. She dug this hole herself. Update 3. Full custody and moving on. 2 months later, it's official.